brain and what may happen there, I mean, is a question for empirical science.
According to Jain theory, the karmas lies with the soul or with the jiva.
Right.
Well, physiologists, they say there is nothing like soul. Okay? They say...
It's not a physical thing.
They say that the karmas or the memory, they lies in the upper region of the brain, the cerebellum or the limbic region. So when the man dies, everything is gone.
Oh, well, I mean, that's the materialist view that I was arguing with.
Professor Bhandari, you have mentioned in your presentation, if I have correctly understood, that science has a limitation of knowledge and they are in the process of exploring the knowledge. The science explores the knowledge through the physical senses, but they are beyond physical senses, and there are what we call Kevalis. In Jain system, Jain philosophy, we have the Kevalis. Mahavir was a Kevali. There are innumerable number of Kevalis, or what we call Siddha, who have a total knowledge, past, present, future, nothing to be known now. They are all knowledge, all omniscience. Do you think the science subscribes to this level of knowledge, that there are Siddhas and they know everything? There is nothing to be known thereafter? Does science accept this concept? Your response.
What I tried to present is that science and Jainism both have limitation that you can never get complete knowledge. By just 1 minute. That is the only way. That is what I mentioned at the end, that by observation and by study there is a limitation, because both have principles which where the laws of physics are not valid when you go to that level. And same thing about Jainism. So the only way is to know through omniscience. And there is a procedure given in Jainism how to attain that. So it is not a hopeless case that nothing can ever be known. Nothing can be known by scientific techniques as well as in the physical world by using the Jain principles. But there is a way out of this by omniscience, by which they have given some procedures of purifying the soul.
I found Dr. Bhandari's presentation very illuminating. I really like the comparison between science and Jain religion. I would like to know dissimilarities between science and religion as of today, so that we can have a balanced view of the gap between science and Jain religion.
There are surely areas where science and Jainism don't agree. But what we have done is, we have selected areas where there is an agreement. And that is what I was talking about. But there are certainly areas where there is a disagreement, and we can discuss that.
But as a co-chairman and chairman Kusmaji, we have a duty to sum up the today's session. The only very short remarks, because the time is really very short.
We had wonderful speakers. Unfortunately, we could not give them much time to explain things in details. And I'm sure there are many questions you would like to ask them. So maybe later on, when you meet them during lunch or some other time, you just jump there and ask them those questions. They have to respond to your queries. You have every right to ask them these questions. So that's one thing. And as being said, that these papers will be available on website, so that will be a great thing for you to do. In a world fraught with all kinds of fundamentalism, whether it is economic, cultural, political, legal, religious, we are living in an age where fundamentalism is the fashion of the day. And unfortunately, religious fundamentalism has become the most dominant thing. So much dominant that it has taken form of terrorism. It's very heartening to hear papers on non-fundamentalism, that is Anikant, Syadvad. Here is a religion which does not claim of any absolutist thing. Here is a religion which tells you that there can be multiple or maybe infinite perspectives of looking at the same thing. So it teaches you tolerance, it teaches you to respect the different view, difference doesn't mean disrespect. There may be difference of opinion, but we have to learn to respect, first understand and then respect. I think respect generates when you understand things. So it's a wonderful religion we are part of and we are talking about. But since we don't have much time, I'm just giving some pointers. We should not confuse or misinterpret Syadvad or Anikantvad with skepticism, with probabilism, with possibilitism. It's not that. And agnosticism. It's usually the trend. And many people, not only layperson, people, brightest of people like Shankaracharya misunderstood it. So if he can do it, there is a possibility most of us will do it. It's not a skepticism. Syadvad doesn't say, Anekantvad doesn't say that anything is right. Anything can go. No. If any philosophy says that everything is right and anything is right, it's no philosophy at all. What Syadvad is saying is that whenever you are making a truth claim, see from what perspective you are making the truth claim. From that particular perspective, the truth claim will be certain, definite. It cannot be, it may be true, it may be false. No. From that particular perspective, it has to be true only. And from other perspective, it has to be false only. So Syadvad is not simply saying, okay, everything goes on. Sab chalta hai. One of my philosophy professor used to criticize Jainism on this basis only. Why talk to Jains? They say everything is right. So anybody who is not taking any stand doesn't need to be talked or discussed with. So Jainism is not this. We have to be very careful when we are, in our fascination for relativism, we sometimes misinterpret Jainism. Please don't do it, because Jainism very clearly says that there are 4 coordinates. From that, a perspective is defined. Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, and Bhav. And from that particular coordinate, these 4 coordinates, a perspective generated. And that from that perspective, you have to make a definite claim about truth value, true or false. So this is my humble request to all of you. Please, anywhere, if anybody is misinterpreting Jainism in this fashion, please clear the confusion. It's not that. Secondly, these are, very interesting papers were presented here. And when Professor Jeffrey Long was presenting his paper on rebirth, I was reminded of many things. The first thing, this Jati Smaran is a very interesting concept of Jainism. Mahavir used it, and many Jains, monks, sadhus used it for spiritual purposes. Not for establishing rebirth, because I think in India nobody ever questioned rebirth. So it was used for very strong spiritual purpose, because if you are reminded of the fact what you were in the earlier lives, it completely changes your perspective, your ways, the way you live this life. Because if I'm being told that I had all these beautiful things which I possess now, I own now, they were always there. Maybe they were in 5 lives I had these, and so it's okay. It doesn't matter now. Your knowledge about your past lives changes your perspective about your present life. And Mahavir used it for this. Jati Smaran, you read any Puran of Jainism, Harivansh Puran and Padma Puran and whatever Puran, you will hear stories about this Jati Smaran thing. And fortunately, Acharya Mahapragya, I think, to my knowledge, he was the only person who tried to do some experiments on this, whatever I have gathered from it. And I wish we have scientists, we had people in Jainism who can revive this technique again, how to make people realize they had rebirth. So they were interesting. I'm thankful to you to bringing out this whole thing. Of course, rebirth is a very questionable thing, and reincarnation, and the materialist way of looking at things. And you made a very interesting comment, and that is that your ethics is determined by your ontology. Your metaphysics decides what you think should be done, ought to be done. So if you think man is simply a physical matter, your ethics will be completely different. As we know, Charvaks have done it in this part of the world. Then all you can do is eat, drink, and be merry, because this is the only life, this is the only matter, and you go. Now, I have got this. So, anyways, we had wonderful paper. I thank all the speakers. I'm sure they have generated more questions and more quest for learning. And I think Bhandari Sahib has to write another paper on the differences between Jainism and science. He has to write it again and present it. Thank you so much for being a wonderful audience, and we thank you all for being here. And I'm sure the next sessions, you will have more opportunities to ask questions. Thank you so much.